Okay, Shalom Aleichem, welcome everyone as we are preparing for Parashat Vayishlach, Shabbat. And Parashat Vayishlach opens with Yaakov Avinu having a very vexing problem. His brother Esav, who hates Yaakov for stealing the brachot, that their father wanted to give to Esav, was coming to Yaakov with 400 men. Yaakov was rightfully scared. So what does Yaakov Avinu do? How does he respond? Like every good, God-fearing Jew, Yaakov davens. He prays from the depth of his heart. He pleads to Hashem for help. But that's not all that Yaakov Avinu does. He does absolutely everything in his power. He mobilizes for a possible military confrontation. He sends a very large, expensive gift to Esav as a bribe. And when Esav actually approaches Yaakov bows to Esav 7 times. How many of us have some sort of problem in life and we've tried to solve it, but yet years and years can go by and the problem's still not solved? Why is that? Why does it happen to us that sometimes we can have a problem and we pray for it and we try things and it's still a problem? So I heard a beautiful pshat. The answer is we have problems and we're not able to solve them because all we have done until now is we tried to solve it instead of deciding to solve it. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. I'm going to try to deal with the situation, or I'm going to deal with this situation. Right? I remember hearing from my Rebbeim that when Rabbi Chanel Wasserman was in America collecting funds for his yeshiva in Barnovich, they asked Rabbi Chanan, what did you learn in English? He came from Eastern Europe, so he was here. He learned some English words. So Rabbi Chanan said, I learned that the word I'll try means gurnish. It means nothing. If someone says I'll try, it means absolutely nothing. People who try to lose weight never lose weight. But if they decide that they're going to do something about it, they're really going to do something about it, then even if you put a nice, delicious, scrumptious piece of cake in front of them, they won't eat it. You can plan to exercise, you can try to exercise, but when you decide to do it, that's when you'll get it. This is what we learned from Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu had a problem in front of him. He didn't just say, I'm going to try to solve it. Yaakov Avinu did everything in his power to solve it. I need to resolve this. He prayed to Hashem, the most important. But then he did everything else. It reminds me of the story we heard as children of Hillel. Hillel, who always wanted to come to the yeshiva. In those days, you had to pay a fee. And Hillel, every day he would work, and half of his money he would give to go to the yeshiva to learn Torah. And one Friday, it was snowing outside. And he wasn't able to get work. And he didn't have the money, and they didn't let him to the yeshiva. So what did he do? He went on top. And he was standing on top and laying down on the sky, in the skylight, looking into the yeshiva, until what happened? Snow began to fall on top of Hillel, and he froze on top of the skylight. Shabbat morning, the rabbis came in and they noticed a figure in the skylight, and they brought him in, and they revived him. What do we see here? This is an example of someone who said, I'm not going to try to learn Torah. I'm going to try to get into the yeshiva. He said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn no matter what. That's a person who can get it done. Hashem wants us to daven. But alongside our tefillah, you have to decide you want it. The Havetz Chaim would have a famous mashal. There's this guy. He goes over to his good friend who's a rich man. He says, listen, I need to borrow $20,000 for a business. And his friend says, you know what? You're a good guy of mine. Come tonight to my house. I'll have the money ready for you. No, the rich man prepares the money, and his friend who asked for the money never shows up. He sees him the next morning in the shul. He says, why didn't you come? He says, He says, okay, come tonight. He says, okay. Again, he comes, prepares the money. His friend never shows up, 2-3 days. And he finally sees him. He says, hello, do you really want it or not? The person who really wanted the money would come for it already. Says the Chavetz Chaim, every day we say, Hashem, please give me brains to know the Torah. And then do you sit down to study? You decided you really want to do it? Or you're just saying it. This is the idea of a lesson from Yaakov Avinu. That what? A person has to decide that I'm going to solve this issue, daven to Hashem, and put all his kohot into solving it, it will be solved. And we see the opposite of this also in this week's Parashat. We have in the Parashat that Shem, the son of Hamor, believes that he fell in love with the daughter of Yaakov, Dinah. And he wants to marry her. And the brothers say that they have to get Brit Milahs. And they know they're putting themselves at risk. Because a person who gets Brit Milah, he has a surgical procedure, he gets weak. And yet they all did it. How did that happen? How did this one guy, Shem, convince the whole city, the whole community, to take a Brit Milah? The lesson is, nothing stands in the way of one's will. En davar ha'omed bifnei harason. If somebody truly wants something, he's gonna get it done. Shem used it the wrong way. Shem went to take Dinah, Yaakov's daughter, ki hafetz bebat Yaakov. He wanted the daughter of Yaakov. But since he really wanted it, he got it done. He got the whole community to take Brit Milah. There's a story here that the Nitzotzot, Rav Yitzchak Hershkowitz, would say of a story of a young Hasid who lived in Tzafat, and he wanted to go to Yerushalayim for Selichot, to be with his Rebbe. On the first night of Selichot, Ashkenazim always start Motzei Shabbat. And so he was traveling from Tzfat to Yerushalayim, and on the way he stopped at the gas station to fill up some gas. And while he was there was a group of 15 young Hasidim who were looking for a ride to Yerushalayim. They said they also want to go to Selichot in Yerushalayim. So this Hasid from Tzfat said, listen, I have a small car. If many of you guys can come in, I'll take you, but I can't decide who's going to come, who's not going to come. So they said, no problem. And all of a sudden, in a small car, 15 people fit inside. He said, okay, this is dangerous, but no, everyone really wants to. He started to drive. As he's driving, he gets pulled over by a cop. Right? The police stop him. The police says, everybody out. And the policeman can't believe his eyes. He's counting one after the other, 15 passengers in a 4-passenger car. This is impossible. And he gives him a ticket, and he has a summons to appear in court. No, he goes to his Rebbe, he tells the Rebbe what happens, the Rebbe's upset with him, how can you do such a thing? He's putting people's life in danger. He says, I'm sorry, the Rebbe says, okay, listen, I'll help you out. The Rebbe tells him what to do. He gets to the court, and the judge reads the ticket, and says, you had 15 passengers in your car, that's very reckless, you could have killed yourself, you could have got everyone else killed, you could have done something on the road, that's totally inappropriate. And you have anything to say for yourself? And the Hasid said, yes. The judge will indulge me. My car is right outside. If everyone can come to take a look at the car. He comes, they take him out, everyone comes out to the car, the judge allowed it. He says, this is my car. The ticket says 15 passengers were inside. Can we make a demonstration? Right now. Fit in as many people as you can into this car. So they got a bunch of volunteers, and they try to squeeze themselves in. 7, 8, that's it, and everybody was awkwardly inside. So the Hasid says to the judge, you see, 8 people can't even fit inside normally. And the ticket says here, I had 15. How can it be? You can't fit 8. And the judge says, you're right. The ticket's a mistake. Dismissed. No ticket. Now the cop who issued the ticket walks over to the Hasid and says, between me and you, we know there were 15 people inside that car. How did it happen? So this young man said, so Shem wanted the Bat Yaakov, he wanted Dina. He did everything to make it happen. Because when these young men wanted to get into the car to go to Slichot, they made it happen. When it has to happen, when you really want to resolve the issue, like we saw from Yaakov in the beginning of the Parsha, he made it happen. Everything that needs to get done, he makes it happen. That's the powerful lesson here. If a person wants to grow in Torah, he has to not try to, but he needs to decide to. And when he decides, nothing can stand in his way. When Rav Shlomo Freifeld had the yeshiva Shar Yoshev over here in Far Rockaway, right? When people used to come to the yeshiva, there was one question. Was there one question b'china to get in? The question is, do you want to learn Torah? If you answered affirmatively yes, you got into the yeshiva. If that was your ratzon, then anything you can do. All right, that's on our first lesson on this week's parsha. Let's move on to our second lesson. And then this one is when Yaakov Avinu forgets some of his small jars and he returns for them, says Rashi. And Yaakov was left alone. So I remember once a guy came over to me and said, Rabbi, I'm a big Talmid Chacham, I'm a big tzaddik. I said, why? Why do you say such a thing? It's nice, I'm happy for you. But why do you say such a thing? He said, I was learning the Gemara in Chulin, and the Gemara says that tzaddikim cherish their money more than their bodies. And that's me. The guy says, I love money so much, I love it more than my body. So I'm a tzaddik, I'm a Talmid Chacham. Like Yaakov Avinu, he tells me. I was very impressed. I said, wow, you're right. But I said, you didn't read the whole Gemara there. The Gemara there says, you know why? Because the tzaddikim, why they value their money so much? Because they do not stretch out their hands in theft. They don't steal. Right? The Hafetz Chaim, when he used to get gifts, he used to get so excited when people gave him, like, as a Kohen, people would give him certain gifts. And he would get very excited, and they say, why you get so excited? He says, because this is kosher money. I know it's not, it didn't come to me illegally. People gave it to me as a matana. He says, when I sell something, I might sell it, he sold Sfarim. He says, maybe the ink is too much, maybe the page got stuck, maybe something got printed not right. I might have stolen someone's money. But here they gave it to me full-heartedly. I know that this is kosher money. And kosher money is a very hard thing to come by. And so tzaddikim, when they have money, all their money, they make sure it's really kosher, very kosher. And this way, they're very careful with it. The Hafetz Chaim would add one more insight into this money. He says, you want to know about money? He says, people usually say, time is money. Right? You can make a lot of money in a certain amount of time. Time is money. The Hafetz Chaim said it in reverse. He said, not time is money, but money is time. Right? The tzaddikim realize, he says, is that the money that I have took out time from my life to get that money. Time that I could have spent in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so I have to be very careful with my money. I cannot just let my money just come and go, because it's going to take away more time from learning Torah and more time from the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so to be very careful with it. He says over here, there's a story told of a great Rav who was invited once. He was staying somewhere and they invited him into a rich man's home. A Jewish business magnate invited him. The millionaire gave the Rav a tour of his mansion, pointing out the rich mahogany furniture, the deep plush velvet couches, the custom-made draperies, the imported wall furnishings. As they stood in the room, the Rav suddenly became pale and cried out. And he cried and he said, how could you use the pages of the Gemara for wallpaper? Over there I see the pages of Masechet Brachot. Here I see Masechet Ketubot. Here I see Bava Kama. So the rich man said, Sicha, Kavod Harav, I would never do such a thing. I would never, ever take Gemara pages and use it in wallpaper. In fact, Rabbi, this wallpaper I had specially imported from Paris. From Paris, I imported this wallpaper. And the best artist made it. There's no Gemara here. And the Rav said, that's exactly what I mean. How much time did you spend to earn the money to buy that wallpaper and other expensive furnishings of your home? That time and money could have been used to study Torah, to learn Masechet Brachot, Ketubot, Baba Kama. Instead of learning those pages, you pasted them to your walls. To understand the time and money, how valuable they are. Don't just spend them and waste them on anything. To me, this message, I once walked into a shul somewhere, without mentioning where, I walked in, they had beautiful, beautiful shul, gold everywhere, decorations, it was an amazing sight. And then, it was some time before Mincha, and I know the rabbi speaks there a long time, so I said, let me go and get some Svarim, so, let me see what Svarim they have, I can learn. Meanwhile, what stuff are going to selling and smelling, I go to find a sefer, there's not even a single sefer. There's no sefer, it's all on the shul, there is Sidurim, Humashim, Tehillim. And then the story came back to my mind. They spent all the money on all the fancy decorations, they forgot to get the Svarim. Right? Baruch Hashem, me and a couple of people there, we went after that insight to me, we went and we bought a bunch of books and we brought it to that shul. We got English books, Russian books, Hebrew books, and we put it in there so at least they'd have some Svarim. Over the years, I've gone back, Baruch Hashem, they have a lot more Svarim now. But it's true, people spend their time wasting instead of learning. And at the same time, people spend their money in the wrong places. And all that, the Hafetz Chaim teaching us how important our money is. But one more idea. Reb Chaim Vital, the student of the Arizal, explains another idea over here. He says, you have to understand the way that tzaddikim realize and understand the possessions that they have. They understand that the possessions that they have come from where? From HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not just it shows up. Did it come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu? If it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to take it we have to realize that it's very precious. Rav Matisyahu Solomon, Shlita, he gives an analogy, a mashal, to explain this. He says there was once a poor man. He was really down on his luck, no money, no nothing. And he davens to Hashem to help him out. So poor, he didn't even have a kalif to do Netilat Yadayim in the morning. Didn't have the vessel to do Netilat Yadayim, to Negavas. He didn't have. So he was davening to Hashem, at least give me this, so I can at least do some of Allah Hashem. And in his dream, he sees that from Shamayim, they gave him an Netilat Yadayim cup and a bucket. He wakes up in the morning, lo and behold, right next to his bed is the Netilat Yadayim cup and a bucket. He's thankful to Hashem. He gets water, he washes his hands. He's very excited. And all of a sudden, his fortune starts to turn. He starts making business, starts making money, and things start to happen. He becomes, about a year later, he becomes a very rich man. And his wife tells him, listen, we can no longer live in this small house. We have to move out. We have to go up to our status. And so he buys another house, and he hires movers, right, to move everything from his house, his old house, into his new house. And as they're moving everything, they bring it to the new house, and he asks the movers, you brought everything? They say, yeah. He looks around, he says, you're missing something you didn't bring. He said, no, we brought everything. He says, no, you're missing something here is not here, I'm not sure, but he goes back to his house, his old house. He looks around, and underneath the garbage there, he finds his Netilat Yadayim cup and his bucket. and he tells the movers, you see, this is what you missed. They said, we didn't miss this, we threw it out. It's garbage, who needs this? He says, what do you mean you threw this out? You know how important this is? He said, what's important? It's a plastic cup and a plastic bucket. He says, but this came from God himself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to me as a present. I can't just throw it out. Says the Arizal, that's the way Tzavnei Chachamim look at what they have from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's nothing disposable. It's very hard for us to understand this because we live in what they call a disposable generation. Everything goes. $1,000 thing, just out. That's okay. Throw it out. Here, there. We're disposable. Disposable generation. But the Chachamim, that's why you'll see that the great tzaddikim by us, they try not to throw things out. You look at your grandparents, look at your parents. They don't want to throw things out. Someone else can use it. Because they realize it came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It can't just nilly-willy throw things out. No. We have to realize also the person needs place and stuff like that. That's also the usage. It's not baltashkas. If you need to get rid of something, there's halachic ramifications in that. But the idea exists that we have to realize how precious our money is, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to us, especially when it's kosher money, that money is time, and that everything is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. For our third and final lesson on this week's Parsha, we have Yaakov Avinu defeating Esav's angel. And he asks Esav's angel, what is your name? And he says, why are you asking my name? Right? He says, what's your name? And he says, why are you asking my name? And he blesses Yaakov. What is going on here? Yaakov won him. Yaakov dueled with him. And he was supposed to give him his name, and he doesn't give him his name. What is going on? So Rav Shalom Shvadron, Zechazadik Lebracha, cites his Rebbe here, Rav Leib Chasman, who said he heard from an early Kabbalist that when the angel said, why do you ask my name? That was the name of Esav's angel. Esav's angel's name is, why do you ask my name? How is that understandable? So Rav Chasam will give a mashal. He said that there was once a backward village. They didn't have any electricity. And this guy ends up in the big city, and while he's there, he buys a flashlight as a souvenir to take back to his village. He has a few more dollars. He's walking around the city, and he sees a big line. So he asks me, what are you waiting for? They say, we're going to see a movie. He says, movie? What's movie? What's this? So you're going to love it. He asks, do I have enough money? They say, look at his change. He says, yeah, you make it. He comes inside, everybody's sitting in the dark. Why is everybody sitting in the dark? And then all of a sudden, one light comes on to the front of the room. He's far away, and he starts seeing the light, and pictures coming. He's looking, he says, wow, nice pictures, but why is everyone sitting in the dark? So he takes out his flashlight, and he starts to shine it. And people start to scream, hey, we can't see it. Shut the flashlight. He says, no, I want to see it better. And it's going back and forth. So one wise man in the movie theater walks over to him and says, listen, you're probably new here, but here we only see in the dark. Says Rav Chasman. That was the angel's answer. The angel said to Yaakov, my name is, why do you ask my name? Meaning, the minute you ask what's really going on here, you're going to realize it's all a ruse. It's all nonsense. The Yetzer Hara, which is Esav, right? The Satan, he only exists in the dark, in a mirage. He makes you believe that the Avedah is a good thing. Do it. It's great. You're going to love it. But the minute you start to ask questions, really, why, how, what, and you start to get into it, you start asking names, he disappears. Because then you realize you got into it. And that's his name. Why do you ask my name? Because the minute you ask his name, he's not there anymore. The minute you look into why you're trying to do this sin, and you realize the futility of it, the nonsense of it, it all disappears. But the only thing is, like Gemara tells us, a person doesn't do Avodah until a Ruach Shtut comes into him. Because a sane person won't sin. But and pay attention to yourself whenever a person comes to the sin, how it happened. It happened because all of a sudden you lost control of yourself, right? and then you were able to go into the sin, because if you were rational and logical, you wouldn't have come to that. But I want to add on one more. Rav Chaim Dov Keller, the Rosh Hashiva of Telsh of Chicago, he says the word Shem, name, also is similar to the word Sham, there. There is a definite, right? Meaning, over there, that's where you can find this, a place. It's a definite place. He says the name Shem also means this is this guy's name. It's a definite name. Yaakov Avinu knows who Esav's angel is. We all know, the Samach Mem, right? We know who he is. But Yaakov was asking, I know that Esav's angel is a Yetzer Hara, he's a Satan, he's the Malach HaMavet, he's everything. But I want to know who you really are in order that my descendants can always win. That they can always win over and defeat you. And he says to him, why do you ask my name? Because he says, my name is ever changing. Ever changing. It's always changing. He says, Rav Chaim Dov Keller says, the Yetzer Hara of yesterday is not the same Yetzer Hara of today. The Yetzer Hara in the times of Hanukkah, Hellenism, is not the same Yetzer Hara that there is today. The Yetzer Hara that existed in Mitzrayim when the Jews were there is not the same that it is today. It's even worse. And every generation has a different type of Yetzer Hara. So Esav's angel was answering Yaakov saying, why are you asking my name? It's because my name today is going to be different tomorrow. Right? Just like the anti-Semites yesterday were upset with the Jews because we were in charge of this, we had that, we didn't do this, and now all of a sudden we have Israel. That's the reason to be that. It changes, the reason changes, but the anti-Semites remain. Right? The Yetzer Hara is similar. The Yetzer Hara remains. His tactics, his reasoning, his illusions, the allure to the Yetzer Hara, all of that changes. But the Yetzer Hara doesn't change. So he says, why are you asking my name? My name is ever changing. The way I get people to sin is always changing. There is no battle plan, says the Yetzer Hara. I cannot tell you who I am because I am ever changing. And that's possibly why we say in the Tfilat Arevit prayer, we say, take the Satan away from us. Milfanenu maharenu, from in front of us and from in back of us. Why? Because Yetzer Hara is never standing still. He's always going this way, he's going that way. He's going this way, he's going that way. He's changing in order to make us sin. And our job is to realize this. To realize the Yetzer Hara is an ever-changing force. And that's why we say a person has to be ever-changing as well. We cannot be static. And we're going to talk about this Friday night, Be'ezrat Hashem. Little something about that on Friday night during the share, the Devar Torah that we share. But that is the idea, that we have to continue to change in order to fight changing. If you're going to go into war with the horses, right, and try to fight tanks, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to come with tanks to fight tanks, right, or anti-tank missiles or whatever they are. You have to have the right ammunition, the right sources in order to fight the Yetzer Hara. And that's what the answer of Esav's angel was. So to briefly review the three lessons that we came from this week's Parsha, lesson number 1 was we learned from Yaakov on the good side, and we learned from Shem on the bad side, that nothing stands in the way of a person's will. When a person decides, not when he tries, but when he decides to do something, it will happen, because he really decided to do it. Our second lesson was that the cheshivas of money, of kosher money, of money being received and attained through kosher means, that money is time that we should devote to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to realize that everything that we get, Hashem is giving it to us, and it should be taken and cherished and used appropriately. And our third and final lesson was Yaakov, Esav's angel, made it clear to us that he likes to operate in the shadows. He doesn't want you to realize it's him. And as he's operating, He's always changing his tactics. And we have to do the same. Change our tactics to understand and increase our way of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to come closer and closer. And that way, to be Zarchit, to the Gula Shalemo, B'Meir B'Yameinu. Amen. Toda Rabah.